Our scripture reading today is from Hebrews chapter 13, verses 1 through 3. Never cease to love your fellow Christians. Do not neglect to show hospitality. By doing this, some have entertained angels unawares. Remember those in prison as if you were there with them, and those who are being maltreated, for you are vulnerable too.
As Nick Webster arrived today to do setup, he looked kind of tired, and I realized it's midterms for a large group of our college students. And you may remember last June, we celebrated a large group of graduates for whom this is their first year of college. And I was thinking about them as I read through this scripture and prepared for today, because I'm remembering when my son first went to college, how a group of residential life employees somehow managed to entertain a bunch of strange-looking college freshmen as if they were angels. It was a chaotic day. It was Northridge, and it was hot, about 100 degrees, and nobody was in a good mood. But we, parents of all those freshmen, arrived with our eager young freshmen, and we'd gotten lost. We couldn't figure out the parking, but when we finally found our way to the right dorm, we walked in to this smiling, happy group of young adults who were like, "Hello, who are you?" And they looked Michael's name up, they found him, and they greeted him with a personalized keychain, showed him to his room where they already had a name tag on his door and gifts inside his dorm room. Throughout that harried day, as we hauled things in, our son is like probably all of your kids, way too much stuff, probably gets that from mom and dad. Anyway, it was a lot of trips up and down the stairs, up and down the elevator, and often one of those RAs would just grab a bag and help us up the stairs, or they would open a door. And I began to notice something magical was going on. Community was being created. Because they weren't just welcoming our kid, who looked like every other film student I've ever seen, baseball cap, sunglasses, bushy hair, black t-shirt, black jeans, the look. But they also welcomed the girls in their short shorts, and the kids who were tattooed top to bottom, and the kids who had more earrings than I knew existed in more places than I knew the body could handle. Each one welcomed with the same enthusiasm. "Hi, what's your name? Let me look you up. Here's your personalized keychain. Let me show you to your room. Here's your decorated door. Here's a bunch of gifts." Every stranger welcomed as a friend, as if they knew they might be entertaining angels unaware. The miracle of miracles, I thought, though, was in the evening whenever the barbecue ran short of food, and the residents' assistants, they gave up their places in line, even to us parents, so we could eat. Now, you know, when you're 21 years old, that's a big thing. But that's how much the spirit of generosity just flowed through their work that day. And I just thought, I hope every school gives that experience to their kids. It's that time of year, right? The kids have all gone back to school, and every student goes through that fearful time of trepidation, whether it's their first day of preschool, their first day of kindergarten, their first day of high school, their first day of college. And yet, across the board, through all those years of schooling, I would watch teachers greeting every one of those kids, strangers, when they walked in the door, as if they were angels in their midst. Rooms decorated, desks named with their little nameplates, all kinds of gifts already awaiting. I'm so thankful for the gift of teachers and the way in which they open up those classrooms every fall, anew, afresh, welcoming strangers who will one day become friends as they become their classmates and their students. There's just nothing that makes a parent's heart happier, right, than seeing your kids welcomed that way. I say there's nothing that makes God's heart happier than seeing all of God's children welcomed that way. How might we live that truth as if we were all welcoming teachers, welcoming RAs, welcoming friends to the strangers who encounter us on a daily basis. Hebrews says to us, don't neglect to show hospitality for strangers, for in doing so, some have welcomed angels unaware. Now, the writer of Hebrews was a very biblically literate writer, and he would have known that in ancient biblical times, there are lots of stories of our ancient fathers and mothers welcoming strangers in the desert, only to discover they actually were God's angels. Abraham, that's how he found out he and Sarah were finally going to have a baby. But it began when they welcomed a stranger, 3 strangers actually, and made them a meal. Now, the Kindness Diaries is a great show, but in ancient biblical times, that's the way it was for all travelers. There was no safety net. There were no McDonald's or off-ramps or Starbucks to help you on the long journey through the desert, across the forests, across this land. You would go from village to village, and if strangers weren't welcomed, it meant death. It meant despair and destruction. And so a big part of our Judeo-Christian heritage is this deep understanding that we are obligated to welcome the stranger. For we were once strangers and were welcomed. And that is why we're here today. Welcoming strangers. It may not always result in angels, and yet it might provide a mystery of love and companionship you would never have imagined. I would say that we live in a world today that probably is as dangerous as ancient times if people aren't welcomed and loved and included. We live in a world where people are constantly struggling with isolation and loneliness. We have church. We are a community. The very definition of who we are is to offer community, companionship, and friendship. What a gift we could be to people who are experiencing loneliness and isolation. We live in a society where cruelty and backbiting are the name of the game. Thank heavens for a show like Kindness Diaries that does it differently, because so many other shows celebrate the animosity and the enmity. But here, we know we get to offer kindness and encouragement in our disciple groups, out on the courtyard, in our daily encounters. We have an opportunity to be the welcome to the stranger. We live in a community where people are actually dying from depression and addiction. But when we offer our compassion and our kindness, when we provide this community of genuine love and faith, we can offer hope and even recovery. But such kindness and compassion doesn't happen accidentally. It comes from attention and intention. It begins when we take time to actually notice people. Think back on every place you went yesterday. Just take a minute to think back on that. How many people did you see yesterday? Can you remember their faces? Did you notice their name tags if they were at a business? Did you notice the person at the intersection? Who did you notice yesterday? It might have been an angel right in front of you. That first step of noticing then allows us to take the next step to connect with them. Think about all those people you saw yesterday. How many of them did you connect with? Who do you want to connect with the next time you see them? When we notice and then we connect, we take this step to welcoming the stranger and perhaps entertaining some angels without even knowing it. But if you're like me on a busy Saturday, sometimes we're rushing around or we're caught up in our own thoughts, and we might miss the angels who are all around us. We might miss that opportunity to notice and connect with someone. So this morning, we're going to spend some time reminding ourselves how to connect. For in that connection, then we can offer compassion. So I want to invite you today to connect with compassion, first with yourself. It's a lot like the old airplane rule, right? You got to get your own oxygen mask on. And then we'll go into connecting with some compassion to angels and strangers in your life. So this is going to be time with the Spirit, a time for you to reflect. I'll lead you in some guided meditation. If you tune out and run your own guided meditation, that's just the way God works. That's all good too. But first, I want to invite you to just get comfortable in whatever attitude of prayer really works for you. Close your eyes if you wish, or focus on the cross or the candles. And take a few deep breaths, each breath inviting God's Spirit into this time with you. As you breathe in the Spirit's presence, reflect on yourself. See yourself as the child of God you truly are. Imagine God reminding you of how special and blessed you are. You are a beloved child of God, vulnerable and fragile, perhaps afraid and struggling, perhaps with challenges or stresses or shortcomings. Those are all a part of you, beloved child of God. Thank you for being you. Thank you for having hopes and dreams, for being filled with faith and love. Offer yourself a blessing, the type of blessing you might offer to a beloved friend. Pray for yourself that you might be relieved from your suffering, that you might find comfort in your sorrow, strength for your journey, courage for your fears, that you might know you are surrounded by God's love and light. Open yourself to the prayer for yourself that you might be filled with God's peace, the deep peace that is beyond all understanding, mysterious and healing enough to connect you with all of God's creation in unity and compassion, as compassionate with yourself as you are with others. Thank you for being you, God says to you, for you are God's beloved child. And now invite into your centering thoughts a person whom you treasure deeply. someone you love and care for. Envision their face right in front of you, in the center of your thoughts. Imagine looking deeply in their eyes and truly seeing their soul shimmering forth, reaching to yours. Reach out to them with your thoughts, with your words, that you notice them. You might even say to them in your thoughts, I see you. You are a beloved child of God, just like me. I see that you are a fragile human being, just like me. You are as vulnerable and afraid as I. I see you. You with all your hopes and dreams, just as I have hopes and dreams. You so filled with faith and love, as I am filled with faith and love. You with your struggles and stresses, just as I have. I see you with your challenges and shortcomings, just as I have. Notice your treasured one. And imagine saying, we are alike, for we are both beloved children of God. I wish you relief from your suffering, comfort for your sorrow, courage for your fears, and strength for your journey. I pray you be surrounded by love and light, and that together we might be love and light for one another. Say to your treasured one a blessing of peace. I wish you God's peace, so deep and mysterious that it flows between us, bonding us ever more closely together in unity and compassion. Thank your treasured one.